When we read the tea leaves of each legislative session, sometimes we can learn as much about what happened by looking at what didn't pass both houses and where it hung up along the path to the governor's desk. And Diane, recreational cannabis didn't even make it past its second committee hearing in the Senate. What went wrong in your view there?
I just don't think the legislature was ready to take that on yet. I think it's something that they're still uncomfortable enough with the idea. And just basing it all on all this projected revenue of how it will help, that's not a good argument when you're talking about making a major change. The second category was, is it going to negatively impact medical marijuana program? Because that's important in our state. And a number of Republicans supported that back when it was passed. Not a whole bunch, but I think 5 of us. But I think it had more to do with just not being willing to take that big a step at this point. Now, I think you'll very clearly see it in the 60-day session that'll come up in 2021. But I don't know that, I just think there's enough, in spite of what the polls say, I still think there's enough grassroots opposition to make the conservatives more conservative about it. But if you remember, the vote was 2 Democrats that joined the Republicans to table that bill in Senate Judiciary.
Good points there. You anticipated a question I have for Dee Dee. My colleague Gwyneth Dolan spoke with Martin Zamora, Republican Clovis. He says he doesn't believe the polling that Diane just mentioned that shows most New Mexicans, and I think it was upwards of 70 or 75%.
2/3.
Two-thirds, right.
Yeah.
That, that clearly says there's some more work to do out there, isn't there, about this issue? Something didn't quite take with that working group that Pat Davis headed that went around the state. Something didn't quite get
Well, those are 2 different issues. So those are 2 different issues. Whether somebody believes the poll, this is the 3rd year we've had the poll that says there's a very substantial majority of New Mexicans that support legalizing marijuana. And, I think, I don't know what went wrong with the task force. I wasn't there, so I can't tell. But I think that Diane's comments are, it died in Senate Judiciary. It passed the House last time. And it might very well have passed the Senate had it gotten to the floor. But the committee system is a reflection on how a minority, and often it's a rural minority, can hold up bills that are supported by a substantial majority in the public, and also sometimes in the legislature. So, I mean, I think that Senator Cervantes is a conservative Democrat. I think Senator Martinez could be seen in some ways as a socially conservative Democrat. And those were the 2 deciding votes in the Senate Judiciary Committee. So I think it'll pass next time. I think that this is, this is just too much of a tide for us to resist here. And there's so many other states are legalizing it now, including Colorado, which is sweeping up all the revenue that we might get.
That's right.
And the longer we wait, the less of an economic development argument there will be to be made, because the customers will have gone to Colorado. Now, eastern New Mexico, ironically, would benefit the most economically because of the Texans coming in.
The Texans are never going to pass it.
It was a big ask for a short session, though. There's that. There's that. And then just because something is a good idea and people want it doesn't mean the legislation as produced is really actionable. And the example I would give would be the Affordable Care Act. That was something that, it used to be Mitt Romney's idea until Fox News told him it couldn't be his idea anymore. President Obama took it on. It was a Russian novel of a bill. It did not cover implementation. The implementation was abysmal. And you could see that coming, I think, from this bill. It just wasn't packaged correctly. There were odd things in there, and there wasn't time to fix it. But I want to give a shout out to Crystal Ciarza, who called this. She called us at the beginning of the session at this table, and also, to me, there was just kind of a gut feeling that not this year.
Yeah.
There just seemed, that just seemed to be the vibe I got.
After that first rules committee hearing, you could see the problems
Well, there were
forming. It's gonna
so
be
other
difficult.
major issues, so
That's right.
many others.
That's right.
That they didn't feel compelled.
That's right.
That they
That's a
had
good
to
way to
do
put
this
it.
one with that many unanswered
That's right.
questions.
That's right. Another one that didn't pass, Martha Burke, was the estate tax on Social Security.
Right.
A lot of folks predicted this would have a real chance, but then in committee, once again, issues about budget holes and how to make up revenue and things, typical things like that. What was your sense of that?
Well, it irritated me that got to be part of the discussion because I wrote this down. Javier Martinez, a Democrat, of course, but he said the cuts were not worth the hole in the revenue. Not worth it to who? You know, for the low-income seniors, really it was a sort of marginal middle-income seniors that depend substantially, but maybe not wholly,
Sure.
on Social Security, because the ones that are just, that's their only income are exempted anyway. But we're only one of 13 states that taxes it. Our tax is the second most punitive. I think that it should have passed, of course, but I have to take on Fred Nathan in this too. And normally I agree with him, but he's think New Mexico for the audience's benefit. But he said it's a form of double taxation. I am so tired of hearing double taxation. This is something that they've been using about capital gains taxes for years. And they say it's double taxation. Well, look, you pay taxes on your income, right? You pay income tax, it comes out of your payroll. And when you go to the gas pump, there's a gas tax. Now, you've already paid taxes on that money you're using to buy that gas. So isn't that double taxation? I think it's a spurious
be able to play
argument. It's a silly argument. Any tax except the very original one you pay first is double taxation. So I was disappointed in Mr. Nathan for making that point.
There you go. I want to come back to another one as well. PRC reform didn't make it through. Senator, I'm curious your thoughts on that. It was, a push, I would guess.
I thought it was a big push.
Yeah.
I thought it was very much not a retaliation in the traditional sense, but a response to all the things that have gone on at the PRC the last few years.
That's a good way to put it.
It's a cry for we've got to do something to change this system.
Right.
We want it to be more equitable. We want it to be, we want professionals making those decisions. And so the only way you can get professionals, well, you can put some requirements, experience requirements on it, but we don't do that much in our state.
We did that.
We did that and that. But let's see what we get. The incumbents don't have to have it if they're running, so it would be new candidates that have to have it. But if you're going to rely on someone to appoint it, I don't think there's enough comfort level. The Democrats don't feel comfortable enough because it's, the governor is not going to be the governor forever. And there is likelihood there at some point there will be a Republican governor again. And so neither side really trusted giving that kind of power to the executive.
That's right. Interested in your thoughts on that as well.
Well, there's always going to be a spat between the PRC and the legislature because there's overlapping jurisdiction when it comes to insurance, when it comes to utilities. And if the special interests don't get what they want from the PRC, they're going to come to the legislature.
Exactly.
And if they don't get what they want from the legislature, they're going to go to the PRC. But remember, we have a constitutional amendment coming up, which was another grudge match, which may backfire, though, because that constitutional amendment would end election of PRC members and have it be only appointment by the executive. Well, if you like the executive and you trust the executive, that's great. But what if you don't? As she said,
What if Trump's your executive?
That's right, exactly right. Thoughts on PRC? What was your sense of that one?
I think we need the right PRC candidate to really change the shape of it because we have expectations for our sheriffs who are elected, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if Merritt Allen ran for sheriff, I would not be a credible candidate, right? But people with kind of similar lack of experience by running good campaigns and liking people are able to be elected to the PRCs. So I think we just need to kind of. And I share the concern about giving that much power to the executive branch. Electing our regulators is kind of a cool thing. I'm for that. But I think we need to, as voters, hold our candidates to a higher standard.
There you go. Real quick from everybody, your sense of the overall, for the governor's point of view, her goals. Too scattershot, too much at once, unfocused? What was your sense of the whole thing?
It was way too top-loaded, and some of the more interesting things got buried in the emotional issues like recreational marijuana, like red flag gun laws. I thought the whole prescription wholesaling thing is very interesting, and it got minor mention and minor coverage, but it was probably too much for a 30-day session.
There you go. Your sense, Mark?
Yeah, well, I thought that it was top-loaded, as you said, and everything that got passed was on the governor's priority list. Now, having said that, just one comment on public priorities. There was no money for the Albuquerque homeless shelter, the 24-hour shelter, but there was funding for a soccer complex.
That's right.
I think that
$4
says
million.
it all.
Yep, good point.
Yeah.
Senator Snyder,
I
your
saw
sense
I
of
saw
too?
that and I just went, oh my God. I thought I agree with everyone else that it was top loaded. The one thing that did pass, which I am excited for, because I certainly could have used this in my lifetime of running my own business, is the new New Mexico Work and Save program that establishes the state IRA. It's not state funded, but it allows people who are private employer don't provide an IRA or any kind of savings plan. It allows that individual to do it. It encourages people to start saving at a much earlier age. Because had I had a vehicle to do it, I would have done that.
It's very forward-leaning. It was
Yes,
actually
I
very
thought I was
progressive.
very impressed. with
Exactly right. Senator Feldman, anything last thought? We've got about 20 seconds. For
Yeah,
you.
I mean, I think that she got mostly what she wanted, especially the early childhood thing. And I think the prescription drug wholesale importation did pass.
It did.
And it flew under the radar, and it was a very creative bill. She skirted around a potential conflict with John Arthur Smith. I think that is her main obstacle when it comes to getting things through the New Mexico legislature. And she compromised there. The main conflict was between the House and the Senate over the budget rather than the governor and the legislature. And I've been very disappointed with how the Senate handled the budget totally behind closed doors this time. It's done this for a long time. This year it was much more evident because it didn't even go to a conference committee. Once the Senate put their amendments on it, it went back to the House and it passed without even much discussion. So it was behind closed doors, and that's a problem.
Exactly right. We're going to let the legislative topics rest for now. The governor has until March 11th to act on legislation. It gets automatically vetoed at that point if she doesn't. We're heading outside next with Our Land, then into the wild world of national politics when the line comes back.